Welcome to everybody's favorite shit show. I am your host, Liam, and in today's video, I'm going to be delving deeper into the topic of terms of services. Now, I did previously bring this up, however, it was super brief and it only went over one very small, very specific topic. So this video is just going to be a longer video explaining in detail what a terms of service is, what it's for, things that I have in my terms of service, and why I have those, so that way I can give other artists an idea of what they should be adding into their terms of service. Now, as always, this is absolutely just opinionated. You don't have to listen to everything I have in this video. You can obviously cherry pick what you want to keep and what you want to use, but you know, at the end of the day, this is all just advice. Plus, I also have an artist starter pack, which includes a template of a terms of service. Feel free to just grab that and edit it. If you don't want to listen to this video, I don't know, play like Lo-fi in the background, I don't care. I'm not gonna hurt my feelings. So the first thing that I kind of want to bring up is the fact that your terms of service is always going to be ever changing. You're just gonna come across people who do something completely uniquely stupid that you just need to make a new rule for, and that's perfectly okay. Your terms of service now will probably not be the same as your terms of service in a year or two, and I just need to let everyone know that it's totally fine to update your terms of service without notice. Like, people should be reading these every time they try to commission you. So don't feel guilty for editing your terms of service or adding new rules, and absolutely do not be ashamed to add in really stupid, really specific rules, because I mean, people just do really stupid, really weird things. Now, with that being said, let me explain what a terms of service, terms and conditions, and a terms of use are for. These are basically just documents that state rules and expectations. That's literally just it. Now, a terms of service could be rules and expectations that you have from your commissioner. Things like, hey, don't steal my art. Hey, pay me for my work. My work is used for commercial stuff. It's not used for commercial stuff, blah, blah, blah. But you could also put in rules for commissioners to know what to expect from you, such as how the process works, when you will be giving out, work in progress photos, updates, how you accept payment, how you do changes and edits. Basically, this document is just there so that way people know exactly what they need to do, what they exactly cannot do, and just, how to act, how to behave, how to go through this entire process. Now, the first thing that I have in my terms of service is just the rules, things that I expect from other people. Now, the reason why these rules are super important as the first thing is because it happens to be the first thing this person should be reading. So I just have like very generic rules such as, hey, if you have your own personal terms of use that invalidates my terms of service, don't commission me. I retain the copyright to my work. Commissioners are allowed to repost things. My work is not inherently for commercial use unless you commission it for that purpose. And just all of these rules and details that people need to follow and listen to in order to get this commission rolling. Now, like I said in the beginning, you will have some really weird rules, and that's totally fine. I have some really weird ones too. For example, my very first rule is the terms of service and the terms of use. I've had a commissioner have a personal terms of use for themselves, which stated that, the original artist's terms of service are now invalid or void, and it basically gave the commissioner the right to do whatever they wanted with my work. So that's stupid, and I made a rule so that way if anyone else decided to be that cheeky, I decided to just have a rule so that way it invalidated their document, and it's such a stupid rule. It's a dumb rule, but sometimes you have to have it. And I have another relatively dumb rule, which basically just says, like, when my skills improve, previous commissioners are not entitled to an updated, quote-unquote, piece of work, because I've had people actually come in and say, hey, I commissioned you when your skills were super dookie, but now you're super good. I want it completely free. That just doesn't work, Now, another section that I think is super important to have in a terms of service is obviously talking about your copyright, how you own your work, and how people can't take the copyright of something that you worked hard for. Having this out there just kind of states like, hey, even though you commissioned me, it does not necessarily mean that you own this piece. I still own it because it's my work. You just happen to want that. It helps, especially with people who try to take it, claim it as theirs, and try to use it for some sort of commercial use, like, you know, throwing it on Redbubble. I've had a lot of people try to do that. Just having a very clear statement like, I own my work, you don't own my work, you own the right to be called the commissioner for this piece, but you do not own this piece. Now, I want to talk about pay plans. Pay plan is essentially just the plan for how this person pays. If you accept PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, check, cash, or any sort of like virtual currency, it's a really good idea to have that stated somewhere in your terms of service, especially if you are very specific on what currency you take. An example is in United States, $20 is $26 in Canadian. So if somebody paid me $20 Canadian, there's a currency exchange and it's off. So it's good to just kind of state what you accept so that way you're not being underpaid. You should also bring up how your conversion rate works for virtual currencies, such as DeviantArt points or like amino coins, I think is what they're called. Super kind of iffy on, this is gonna sound weird, Steam games. I've had a lot of friends and I've known other artists who have used to take commissions where people would buy them games off of Steam, and so the currency of that game, it was just weird. It's so weird. I don't recommend doing games. I recommend doing like actual currency so that way you can benefit from it more. And in your pay plan, you should also state when a person is expected to pay and how much. If you want them to do 50% up front, make sure to make that very clear, very well known in your pay plan. If you expect them to pay you on the invoice, make sure they know that, and make sure that like tips are not required, and just kind of maybe leave tips out of it. There have been some artists that I have commissioned in the past who were like, and you should really be tipping me 20% gratuity, and I'm like, okay, that comes off a little pushy, but okay. So just don't be pushy, just explain what you take, where it's accepted, and how they need to be paying for it. Now, a will not draw section is probably the most crucial for any commissioner in the world, because it just lays out very bluntly, very stoically, hey, I'm not gonna do this, that, and this, and if you try to commission me this, that, or this, I'm gonna block you, because that's gross. And you know, that's totally fine, that's totally just. You should obviously put out things that you are not willing to draw. So like, if you don't want to draw not safe for work, state it. If you don't want to draw anthros, state it. If you don't want to draw specific things, just state it, because not only will this save you time for commissioners that want to commission really specific things that you're not willing to draw, but it saves other people time, so that way they know that this is not an artist that will be doing this kind of work. It's just super important to have, hey, I'm not gonna draw this, please don't ask me. So that way it just saves everybody time, it saves everybody stress. If you do a process that is a little lengthy or a little confusing, it would also be a good idea to have that explained, such as how work in progresses will be given when they ask, or work in progresses will be given at varying levels of being finished. You should also explain how payment should work when you get a certain work in progress photo. You should obviously bring up refunds. People don't like to think about refunds, but it's kind of something that happens sometimes. So explain when is an acceptable time for refunds to take place, explain when it's an acceptable time for any sort of cancellation, and explain how these refunds work. And I promise you, you're not gonna be an asshole if you decide to keep some of the 50% up front for yourself because of compensation. If you've worked really hard on the sketches and you did the line art and all that mess, you should be compensated for that work. But you need to explain it to your commissioner so that way they're not like, wow, this dirtbag, he's cheating me out of money. What a, I don't know, skank? Is that a good word for that? Probably not. Now this is also kind of a choice. You don't have to do this, you can just have it posted elsewhere. But I include my prices in my terms of service just so that way they can look through it, refresh their memory, see it, and be like, oh, a lined headshot is $4. Oh, not safe for work, you have to add on the currency. That's just kind of how I go about it, because it gives me the chance to explain that no, you can't get an entire not safe for work piece for just $12. That $12 is added to the style and size. Having your prices put out also gives you the chance to explain currency, conversion, the rates, and all that mess. But again, you don't really have to have that. You can just throw in this information wherever you want. Now, the last couple of things I want to talk about are kind of really legal jargon related, so bear with me. So here is a thing called a click wrap. A click wrap is essentially a digital signature without words. Essentially how it works is that I have linked a small little box in my terms of service to a hidden image with a very specific, very fake word that I made up in order to ensure that if they use this code, it means that they physically click that they agree to my terms, they agree to my documents, and they are complicit and fine with any sort of penalties I decide to take against them in case they fail to cooperate. Now, having a click wrap totally optional, however, it is relatively safer than just saying by commissioning me in any way you agree to my terms, because people will always play dumb. People will always try to find some kind of loophole, some way to scam you. And if they are legally bound by a click wrap, it gets a lot harder to get away with scamming you. Just please, for the love of God, do a click wrap, please. Another thing that I do with this click wrap is that I implement it into the form. Now, the form is probably one of the last things on my terms of service, only so they can read all of my rules, all of my will not draws, check the code, and then they fill out the form. The reason why this form is important is because it gives me the username and the website that they want to be credited on. It tells me their age in case they're doing not safe for work, their character references, their commission types, the size, any notes that they want to explain. But here are the two most important parts of that form: the PayPal email and the code. Now, the reason why these are super important is because the way that I go about PayPal commissions is a little goofy, but that's okay. The way I go about it is that I create an invoice and I will send it to that email. However, I take a screenshot of their form. So it includes their PayPal email and it includes the code that says, hey, I agree to your terms. I also throw in the watermarked finished piece, so that way it's proof that it is finished and it's just waiting for the payment. Then most of the time they'll pay. I send in the full resolution photo and then they try to dispute this invoice, try to say that they never got their work. So what I end up doing is that I screenshot the chat where I give them the link to the private full completed commission. I keep that link and I basically fight it back saying, hey, this is a screenshot where they use a code that says that they agree to my terms. This also was attached to the invoice, which showed that it was finished. This is a screenshot of me sending in the link to the finished piece, and this is the active link of the piece that they saved, their line. And literally 100% of the time, PayPal is in my favor because I just have so much proof, because I decided to go the crackhead route and just make sure all of my ass was covered. Now, the very last thing that I have on my terms of service is this thing called fine print. It is basically just super tiny text, and it's a lot of legal jargon that a lot of people don't really want to pay attention to, or it's about common sense related rules. Nothing super fancy, nothing super incriminating. In my tiny text, I write down the definition of an age verification system, such as how adult websites have this, are you 18, yes or no, and even if a child lies and says yes, the website is not held liable for distributing adult content to a child. And that still works for artists with not safe for work art. In my fine print, I also basically go over how refunds work, how the I agree button works, the different kinds of penalties I take, which is blocking, reporting, blacklisting, artist beware related stuff, how I will essentially give you notice of when I decide to cancel and give you reasons why I canceled, because sometimes there are just some really grimy people out there that you just want to cut your interactions so short. And then another thing that I do in my fine print is that I explain that I do have a right to take screenshots of our private chat in the case of you being really greasy to me. In case you're like super greasy, super grimy, crusty and musty. So that way, if you decide to do a 180 and tell everyone, hey, Liam just sucks a big fat bag of oily caucuses, I'm just sitting there like, hey, here's the chat. You were really gross to me. These are lies. and how it's totally okay for me to be doing that, because sometimes sometimes people are just really gross and you need to make sure that you have evidence of them being freak nasty. That is literally the only reason I have that fine print, is just so that way I can say, hey, you can't tell me that it's wrong to do this because this isn't my terms of service and you decided to be really gross. And now everyone's gonna know how gross you are. What? That being said, I think I've covered literally everything in my terms of service and anything that I think other people should be implementing into theirs. So, just go make your terms of service. You have all the information you really need. That's it. Sincerely yours and whatnot.